even though you're way more perfectionist than I am, you wanted me to drive it and give my feedback.
It's like knocking on Porsche level good.
How Frankenstein or not are we looking at here?
Let's see.
Oh no, we're avoiding that one.
It came
I got
on.
more questions. I got more questions.
Again, share it with everyone. That's what's so exciting to us. So hey y'all, I am here today with Nick Roshon from Cars and Bids, and we are pioneering our new podcast studio. It is actually an homage to kind of Ed's setup at VinWiki, but welcome Nick all the way from San Diego.
Yeah, real cozy. I love the chairs, the studio, and after standing around in your parking lot for probably the last 8 out of 16 hours, I'm glad you finally let me sit down.
Yeah. Well, you know, it wasn't intentional, but hey, I got you something. Got you a nice.
All right.
Got you on brand there.
That's awesome. Thank you.
DC MotorWerks action.
I do need a fresh t-shirt.
There, yeah. After how hot it was yesterday, you could probably use a fresh t-shirt.
Yeah, I got the matching sticker on my E55. I'm just this visit. You would encourage me. You're like, hey, please come visit because I'm nervous. Even though you're way more perfectionist than I am, you wanted me to drive it and give my feedback. And it's a special way to drive the first drive where you're like with the people who did it. Like I got to shake Paul's hand who did a lot of the wrenching, and like like people do European delivery to buy their new cars. This was like my Atlanta delivery, you know?
DC delivery.
I got the whole experience. It is pretty cool.
Which is awesome. But I hear there's a lot of questions involved in the whole manual swap process. So we wanted to kind of sit down and go over all those questions. And if you stick around towards the end, we're going to get to the best part where you owe us some money, sir.
Well, we'll see how I'll make this as long as possible then.
Oh, okay. We'll draw it out.
That's why the car's been here so long. The car's been done for weeks, and I was like, I'm going to come out there, I swear. But yeah, no, a lot of people have been DMing me on Instagram and YouTube, and even last night, like your fans and all your people here were asking me so many technical questions, and I was like able to kind of answer them, but fumbling my words, and I'm like, Cameron really should answer these questions. And if you make this video, then I can just send everyone to this video and say, here's everything you'd want to know about a manual swap.
Let's do it. Let's kick it off.
So I think the first question everyone keeps asking me is, what transmission did you put in your car?
So we use the Mercedes transmission. The technical code is 716.xxx. It's usually like 667 and on the later ones, so we only like to do the 05 and up transmission.
Okay.
So there's an early 6-speed and there's a late 6-speed, which a lot of people don't know about. But the easiest way to figure that out is where reverse is, because if reverse is over and up, that's the later transmission.
Yep.
And if it's over and down, that's the early transmission that uses a different like shifter cable setup. The one like you have, it's called like the direct shift, and they have a lot better shifter feel, and there's no real like official ratings on like their power holding or anything like that. But there's a couple bi-turbo V12s out there, 700-800 pound-feet of torque, and the transmission does not care.
Yeah.
So those are the ones we go for. We get a bunch out of Europe lately because we like to get the late style, which we never got here, which is from a 212 chassis E-Class, so the one after yours.
Okay.
They've got like extra bracing in the bell housing. It's not really like a huge difference, but they are newer since they were in the next generations. We try to find, the best option.
Yeah. Okay. So 212s, I heard. What other cars are usually like the donor cars that these are coming out of?
So again, 05 up, but SLK, C-Class is kind of it, European E-Classes. But if we get them here locally, it's from C's and SLKs mostly. The 6-cylinder variants, it has to be the 6-cylinder. So your 320s, your 350s, that sort of thing.
Which I think you kind of covered there, but then the next question is, it came out of a puny little Crossfire. Can it handle the power? And we just put one in a 500 horsepower wagon. I know you've got a CLK 63 Black Series that's got gobs of power. So I think the answer is yes, but how confident are you that we're not going to like blow these up by putting too much power into a 6-cylinder transmission?
Very. I mean, Josh from Mercedes Swap Shop, he's had his for 5 years. He has your engine in a Crossfire with the manual. So his is the older style transmission, and still 5 years, and he beats it on a daily basis, and it doesn't phase it at all. My buddy Josh Crowder up in where you're from, Ohio.
Oh, cool.
He has done a couple of the V12 bi-turbo cars, and he used what's like the the weakest transmission out of like a C240, which
Okay.
is the old style, least power, still doesn't phase it a bit. And I've asked some of the guys in Europe, like from Kangaroo's team, I'm like, hey man, you guys actually like look through these. And I'm like, is there any difference between like one out of a 240 versus one out of a 350? And he's like, honestly, no. He says the internals are like identical.
Yeah.
So it's not really a big thing. The only one that's different is what they call the NSG 510, which I think is out of some like the AMG diesel or something like totally obscure but he said those are hen's teeth to find.
Yeah.
So the normal, like, 6-cylinder one, it's been great. Bolt in, so no adapter plate. It looks totally factory. So
Yeah. Okay. No, that's interesting. Yeah. I don't know what car mine actually came out of. I believe you sourced mine in particular.
yours was out of, I want to say it's an SLK.
You found it pretty quick. Was it hard to find these? Are they somewhat available? Like, what's the parts availability and parts hunting game like?
It's getting tough. So a couple years ago when we first started experimenting with this, it was a lot easier and you could pick them up for $500-800. But it seems the yards and stuff have kind of caught on to, they're like, all of a sudden we're selling all these weird Mercedes manual transmissions.
Yeah.
So now they've gotten a lot more expensive and people are kind of stockpiling, me included, that we kind of keep a couple extra on the shelf. As
I've seen your parking lot. You are stockpiling a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but stuff's hard to get just because even in general, we didn't get a lot of factory manual Mercedes.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff comes out of Europe. Now we've got the whole tariff thing going on and just everyone just seeing this is becoming bigger and they're charging more for it. But
yeah,
it's tough, but
interesting.
Not too difficult.
You, at least for so far, knock on wood, it wasn't a delay in my project. You guys had that thing knocked out and done in under 2 weeks, including getting all the parts together. And I think it took longer for you to get the parts than it did to do the actual swap.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, your parts order got delayed. Like Mercedes just lost it.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of stuff coming from Germany, and I'm like, yeah, they just have no idea where it went.
Yep. What about, so the other question I'm getting a lot is, besides this misconception that it's out of a puny little Crossfire, is, okay, even if it can handle the power, does it have like a sloppy, soft, like eco box feel to the transmission? I've driven mine. I know that's not the case. It feels nice and tight and sporty, but what do you do, or how can you make it so that the shifting experience is more like a performance car and less like a 6-cylinder base model, economy car from Europe?
It's all the factory stuff, and that's really the benefit of the 05 Up stuff. They really improved the shifter design.
Okay.
And that's just straight out of the box in your car, and the shifter feels just great. There's short shifters out there, but again, from getting to talk to you, you probably know that I'm not very aftermarket friendly. I like things to be OEM plus, and so I don't like doing stuff like that because they get like real unpleasant and notchy. Mm-hmm. These, they've got a nice throw. It feels proper while still being engaging.
Yeah. No, I thought mine was actually a pretty short throw compared to what I was expecting.
Yeah, I remember you were like...
yeah, I was jamming a little harder than I needed to until I realized that wasn't necessary.
Did you ever drive Doug's A-Class?
Once.
Yeah.
That's all you needed. Once was enough.
One and done?
Yeah.
I'm sure that one probably felt kind of like EcoBox and rubbery. I could be wrong,
exactly.
But...
And I think that's where a lot of those is like, okay, I drove like a really rowdy Crossfire, or I drove like a very base model one, and like the whole car so underwhelming that you then would infer that maybe the manual
I like Crossfires. But they all have the early style shifter setup.
Okay, so it's different.
Yeah, it is. But drive like a SLK 350, and it is one of the most wonderful experiences. I say in a bunch of my videos, it's like knocking on Porsche level good. Maybe not like the high-end GT cars, but like a normal, Boxster or something. It's got a great shifter feel.
Yeah, you just got to get past the stigma, much like my TTRS had, of being the hairdresser vibe.
It goes back to like we've talked about like E-Gear and automated manuals.
Yeah.
It's all the stuff like the flappy paddle from Top Gear that they have that in the back of their mind and think it's going to be awful. But once you're in there, it's just like, it's a great thing.
What about, and so the other question then is clutches. Now you and I had fun with the E55, where this is the first E55 you did, and you're like, I want to actually experiment and try a couple different options. So thankfully for me, you didn't charge me twice for this, but we did end up doing one clutch and then chaining it to another. And then I know one of the other cars I drove had a different clutch than the one I have. So you've got options. Explain to me kind of what those options are and where you recommend one option versus another.
Yeah, so most of the ones we've done up to this point have been naturally aspirated cars, like your engine without a supercharger, or the 156, which you just drove in my ML.
I love the 156. Yeah, that's not so bad.
The 156 is awesome, but the NA cars, we use a single mass flywheel, which is from Kangaroo's team over in Eastern Europe. And it's a single disc clutch, and just the feel, the lighter weight flywheel with that engine feels great. But your engine's a lot more complicated because of the supercharger.
Yeah.
Because it's engaged by a clutch, electromagnetic clutch. So you get that impact of all of a sudden the engine increased all this boost, and so it can get kind of jerky because you're just adding all that all at once through, instead of through a slushy torque converter. You're putting that through a direct manual transmission.
Yeah.
So you feel all that in the drive line, and it would bounce your head off the headrest.
Yeah.
But so we went with a dual mass flywheel, which is factory, and what's called Uniclutch. They're based out of Australia, and that's actually the brainchild of Anderson, which you talked to as well, one of my manual swap community buddies. It's a twin disc clutch, so it gives you, and that's kind of the problem of the single disc, you're limited in the power holding. So the 113K is like just over the limit of what's rated for the single disc clutch.
Okay.
They offer 2 different flywheel sizes, even with the bigger flywheel. It's perfect for the 156, the NA motor, but yours, you need that to hold the extra power. So we go with the twin disc, and then the dual mass flywheel makes it smoother, plus the twin disc to really kind of absorb some of that and make it more E-Class like your car, smooth it out. It all depends on what the driver wants. The Black Series, single mass flywheel, it just feels great. But your car, you still, you're like, I want to drive it with my family. And so we can give all of those different options.
So it's some combination of how much power the car has, and then the driver preference on like smoothness versus like hardcore performance oriented, and where you fall in that spectrum.
Yeah, and neither of them are super heavy. The single mass is a little more pedal effort than yours is, but they feel totally natural. You can easily find the grab point. Like you've got it down in like 40 miles, and now you're an expert, I know.
Our first drive was when I was learning and I was a little distracted, and now it's like so second nature, even after just one day of driving. So,
and that's kind of the benefit of it mostly being factory parts, is that it all just works. But all down to driver preference around here. So
factory parts is another interesting thing. How much of it is factory? How much of it is custom fab? How much of it is aftermarket? Like kind of how Frankenstein or not are we looking at here?
Chassis specific, or which car? 211s are tough because an E-Class with a manual is just, I don't know that they're that popular in Europe either.
Yeah.
But most of it, like over 90%, is all factory parts. I mean, we even go to the trouble of finding the little clips that hold, the hard line along the body for the clutch line, and we do it all as much factory as we can, other than the clutch for holding the extra power of the bigger engines and so forth. But your car, we did the custom center console trim because, again, for a 211 E-Class, like you can only get them out of Europe, and it's really hard to find one that has like the same wood trim as your car.
Yeah, for sure.
And the same options, because yours has the aromatic suspension. Some of them have Distronic, and there's different cutouts in the center console. So those are tough, and that was a lot of extra work on your car, which we ended up utilizing the factory automatic one and trimming it out and really making it look as it would have from the factory.
Well, the wood match is perfect for my 206,000 mile patina, so I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, that was a concern of mine. I was like, well, this wood should be a lot darker, but yours has been sun aged.
Yeah.
So it would be tough to find something that fit just perfect. I even thought about doing a custom piece, Madeira out by you in California. Yeah. They're great. We use them for a lot of the vintage Mercedes stuff, and we were going to have them do something, but yours worked out well. And so that's really the only couple things, or just what's hard to find, which thankfully, I've kind of stockpiled a lot of that stuff so that we can do the next number of them with all factory parts.
Yep. And I saw you did the Black Series. You did a custom center trim surround there too in carbon fiber. So you've got the ability to customize, but most of it is off the shelf stuff that you have to source from other cars, or for manual transmission variants of the cars.
The important stuff, the transmission, the shifter, keep all that factory. Yeah. It's not, so you could take your car to the dealer and say, hey, I want you to work on it. And, I'd love to see their reaction to that, because underneath it's seamless.
It'll probably happen. I actually like the dealer not too far from me. So we'll do it just to mess with their heads a little.
That's fun. I love going to car shows and just seeing people walk by the car, and then they stop and they go back and they're like, you can see their brain trying to calculate what's happening because they're like manual AMG, something's not.
I know. I'm going to keep with the vanity plates to just hint at that. I think 4-pedal, if I can get it, will be a good one where if you know, you know.
Thank you.
And everyone else will be like, what does that even mean? And I go point out, hey, it's 4 pedals.
4-pedal society, man.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
What about, what cars are people swapping? Are there any cars you can't swap? Obviously, there are cars you probably shouldn't, but are there cars you cannot swap? I mean, I've seen just last night in your parking lot alone, you got everything from C63s to CLK 63s. So I know you've got the AMG motors pretty stout. We've talked a little bit about an SLR, but so what cars have you done? What cars do you want to do? And what cars do you not want to do?
Would love to do your SLR.
Yeah.
So we can keep talking about that one.
We will.
That one's a big project, but I'd love to do a V12 car. That'd be next because we've done the NA 113, the 113K, which is your engine, the 156, the 112, which is just a 6-cylinder variant. Those would all work. Even, some of the older stuff you can do because the bell housing was similar between all those engines. The V12 bi-turbo, I really want to do one of those.
Yeah.
Because the 5-speed in those is just, it's the big letdown of that motor. They have this really high stall torque converter. So off the line, they feel like a bad E-gear car where it's just, wow, and you're not moving. So I really want to do one of those. So that'll be one of the next ones.
A manual V12 is just, you got to experience that one time in your life. And a lot of people can't afford most manual V12s. Like a stick Lamborghini Murcielago is now $1 million car. So I think you can get an SL65 and a stick swap for well under that.
That'd be so good.
Yeah.
We actually got a 129, this generation SL600 that's in the parking lot right now that we're getting ready to do. But that one requires a different transmission with an adapter plate. There's no Mercedes transmission that has the same bell housing pattern.
Yeah.
So that one uses a Getrag, which is sourced out of a BMW. So those one, but we even can do those.
What about an R63? Is that doable?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
That'd be cool.
It kind of have to, from what I've kind of figured out, I've actually tried researching this, we'd probably go rear-wheel drive because of the transmission setup and everything. Keeping the all-wheel drive would be a bit of a procedure.
Yeah.
But rear-wheel drive, 500 horsepower, 6-speed minivan.
It'd be nuts. Yeah, I mean, the 550 swap you did on that R class is probably the move because the 63s are so expensive and so rare that it's almost hard to tinker with it at all, but yeah, I think those would be cool.
The 550 is like 382 horsepower with a tune, 410-ish, which is plenty.
Yeah.
Mine's already 2-wheel drive, so
Nice.
maybe. But the newer stuff hasn't really been developed yet. So after the 156 engine and the 273s, which is the 550 motor, anytime the bi-turbo stuff came out, the bi-turbo V8s, which is the 278, the 157, those engines, those haven't been developed yet. But we can do early 212s, which is the next generation of your E-Class.
No, that'd be cool to see.
As long as they have the naturally aspirated V8 or either naturally aspirated V8. Even the 6-cylinders, we've had people ask, hey, can you swap my E350? And I'm like, yeah. So it's not limited to just AMGs. It's just all of that era of Mercedes stuff. All the bell housings are the same. Yeah. And so you can pick any of them.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, that's my favorite era of all cars in general. And I think including Mercedes in particular is like the 90s to 2010-ish era. They were just, as we were talking about in the ML63, like the horsepower wars were at its peak. And like the manufacturers were doing like really fun enthusiast stuff. And now the cars are just becoming like glorified iPads that have wheels attached to them. So like those are rewarding cars to make manual and really experience in its analog format.
Exactly. It's the DC era. That's what the name is, Daimler Chrysler. So that was this one of the best eras of Mercedes-Benz. Everything's modular. Everything works together. The coding stuff's easy. So
as you also put it, the newer stuff, the automatics have gotten a lot better. They're not these sloppy 5-speed, in my case, automatics. Like they'll have 8, 10 speeds and dual sequential gearboxes, and like they're no longer the absolute Achilles heel of the car. Versus when I did drive a 211, I got out and my reaction was literally meh, because it was like it was slow. The paddle shifters barely did anything. Like
paddle buttons. Or they're shifter buttons. They're like little click buttons. Yeah.
It was such a letdown because of the trends. Versus the newer cars, like they're still pretty fun. So.
It is. Even in some of the later ones, the MCT or multi-clutch transmissions, which is the later 7-speed, but with a wet startup clutch.
Yeah.
And those, if they've aged, man, they're clunky and like Imagine the like worst, single clutch automated car where it's just and it's just really awful. They require all kinds of service, and so those I love swapping. I'm like, get rid of that transmission. Yeah. But some of the automatics I really like, the 7 speeds. The 9 speeds are still pretty new, and I hear they're not very forgiving to modification and stuff like that. But the 7 speeds are great, and they're actually becoming a thing now that where people are putting the 7 speeds in like your E55.
Yeah, that's not a bad move. I'd rather go manual, but it's
it's
good in between.
But
what about, so the newer cars too, I know the other issue is sort of the coding and electronics. And people have been asking me on mine, like, how did you get around all, like, there's no check engine light, there's no warning lights of any kind. The car isn't like freaking out that it's missing the transmission it was intended for. So like, what's the magic there, if you can share it, in terms of like how you get around all the coding and electronics?
It's really not. It's all pretty much factory, variant coding. Is all it is. And like Benz is really good about it, compared to kind of the things you like with the Volkswagen Audi stuff. I still can't figure out their coding and everything, but Benz just has like drop down menus, and you can just go through and say manual, and a lot of it's CAN network. So none of it's like hardware related stuff. You just go in, like I tell it, hey, it no longer has a manual or an automatic, and your instrument cluster display for gear position goes away, and some of that stuff. So it's, the software side of it's really not that difficult. With yours, you kind of add in the tuning of it because yours has the smaller pulley and some of that stuff. So there's like some of that finite, and it's really personalization at that point. But as far as like making that run, it's pretty easy.
And I thought that was another cool thing, is that you all do the custom tuning as well, where you went through 9 revisions, and even after I drove it, you're like, oh, do you want how much RPM do you want to hold before first? And like, you're still able to make tweaks. So talk to me like what the options are and how that works when you're working with a customer.
Yeah, so we work with Josh from Mercedes Swap Shop. He's great. Another one of there's like the 4 or 5 of us that are in the Mercedes manual swap community.
Yeah, it's small. And
we're all on the phone with each other all the time and like trying to make it better and figuring out what we can do. And I spent hours on the phone with him with your car, and so I'm driving along and I'm telling him, like, this is what it's doing. Yeah. What can we change here? And he's looking at the maps while I'm driving. And he's like, well, I've got this map that adjusts this and this map that adjusts that. And, he's like, I can dial it back here. So I'd do that. And then I'd run back to the shop, load it real quick. It takes all of like 90 seconds. Go drive some more and give more feedback. So it's just time consuming to get that right. But, it's really, and that's why I wanted you to come drive it. It's just give me that feedback. So if you want it to be anything different, we love the ability to be able to do that. Yeah,
no, that's really cool. And I like my car came with a Rentec tune that was like very jerky, and like it felt aftermarket, for lack of a better word. And I like that during the swap, I also got a new tune. So I got to keep what I liked about the tune, which is more performance oriented, more power, but then smooth it out. So it's better than the Rentec tune that we basically overwrote.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool that you offer that option too, of like the custom tune. And then obviously you guys don't just do manual swaps. Yeah. So you were able to do a lot of while you're in theirs too.
Yeah, that's kind of why we got into it, is because we know the Mercedes products so well. Andy started in 05 at the dealership, and Paul was in the dealership around that time, and I was still pretty young, but I was around Mercedes, and I got into it a little bit later as I got older. And so we all just like know these cars inside and out, like they were new. When we started getting intimate with them.
I know, so that's so like, cool.
It is, and it's a lot of fun to see, like, all these years later, like these cars we saw new, giving them like this new lease on life.
Yeah.
And what we all have wanted for years and years. Everyone's like, well, those cars are great, but you don't get a manual. And so it's just like mind-blowing to see.
That's what kept me in the Audi scene for so long, is my B7 RS4 was manual only. My R8 was a gated manual. Like, I was like, I can get what I want, and AMG just somehow messed that up. So
yeah, but hey, we can fix it. Yeah, all the parts were there. Like, they could have done it.
I know. Well, clearly, if you can do it here, then I think Mercedes, with all their engineering prowess, could have done it. But
I would like to see what they have to say about it.
Yeah,
it would be interesting.
I think all they would say is whatever the German word for "oops" is right now. What? So what other, like, in terms of while you're in there? So I would imagine in most swaps, unless you're bringing in like a totally perfect car, you're gonna find some, right? And I imagine you're also changing out some fluids and doing some stuff. So what is included usually in your swap service is like, you gotta do it anyways, and then what are the common while you're in there is to maybe plan for or think about?
It really is a one-stop shop. You know, we can do it all. As you found out in your car, you're like, just add it to the tab. Just add it to the tab.
I did a little more of that than I realized. We'll get to that at the end.
We're almost there. We're almost there. But main thing, especially on your car, rear main seal while the transmission out.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything we touch, we try to, make better than it was before when the car showed up. So yours, drive shaft gets done, and we don't just swap out the front half of the drive shaft. We have it custom done. We check the center support bearing. We have it balanced so that you're really getting, like, anything that gets touched or disturbed gets inspected and, gets improved if it needs to be. So all of it, it's anything we're kind of near, and we give them a full baseline when they come in. We make sure we drive them as an automatic, because you never know, especially like you'd never driven the car, seen the car, and then it's like we swap it and all it's done, and then it's like if no one drove it before, it's like, oh, well, now it's doing this,
right.
and this. And like going back to someone afterwards is it kind of puts an egg on your face. And we don't like to do it, so we make sure we put at least 10 miles on it, shake it down, see what all's going on, put it up on the rack, we baseline it. So that's kind of our normal process. We're like, hey, here's an estimate on what the manual swap's going to cost. When it gets here, we preface it with that. We're going to give it a baseline.
Yeah.
We're going to give you this is, and they don't have to do it obviously, but just say, this is what else we see. Do you want to do any of it else while we're here?
Yeah.
And a lot of people do, because they're like, man, when I pick it up, I want it to be just turnkey.
Right.
So, and that really is a cool part of it, because you're really getting like that, European delivery style.
Yeah.
You're getting it as a whole new thing where it, doesn't really need anything, or it just needs the things you know about. And it's it really is rewarding.
It is. Yeah, no, I feel like with the Murciélagos, the people that were thinking about swapping, I said, drive it as an e-gear for like a year, and then when you get bored of it and you have that itch to get something new, that's when you send it out, because it comes back as a totally new car. So you get that like new car feeling, but with a car you already know and love and like have breathed on. And then do the other while you're in there, because some of those things, like for mine, the thrust arms, the sway bar end links were disconnected, like things that really tightened it up and then made that first drive super special, where I'm like, wow, this compared to the stock one that I drove back in San Diego, it's like night and day on how it drives and feels. So
yeah, I'm glad to do that, because I'd hate for you to just spend all that money and everything and you're like, oh man, this car's kind of rough.
How many, so I told you after the swap, I'm like, I want you to put as many miles on it as you can and drive it hard. Like I basically told you, like, try to break something so that I don't break it when I get back. But what is your standard like break-in procedure, both what you guys do, and then like for me as a customer, do I need to like drive it gently, or like I haven't been, so I hope your answer is no, but what break-in procedure is there, if any?
There's really not. I mean, we are, just because we've changed so much, we're gentle and we try to, feel them out and gain some confidence before, but we at least put a couple hundred miles on them usually. And it's a conversation we have with the customer, hey, is this, going to be okay with you? This is what we like to do. And especially when you're out of state like yourself. Yep. The last thing you want is like, oh, well, we took it up and down the block and then sent it to you, and then something goes wrong. So your car, I think, got let's see.
Oh, no, we're avoiding that one.
It came
I got
on-
more questions. I got more questions.
205, 798 miles, and you just hit, 206, 600.
Yeah.
So, yours got a few more, because Ed and I took it to pick up his latest
which
bad
I
decision.
strongly encourage, so I'm excited about that.
But we at least like to, put that number of miles on them, just to make sure everything, because we touch a lot, and just adapting everything, just make sure no check engine lights pop up and that sort of thing. So a couple hundred miles is usually what we try to stick to.
This is the second car I manual swapped, and I think in both times, having the people that worked on the car drive it and like really dial it into their preference, like it's not something you want to rush. Like you guys did it really quick, to the point where I was like, all right, like, there's no rush on my end. Like I want you guys to like make it perfect. And I think having gone through several revisions of the tune, like that extra time and attention is the difference between a product that feels aftermarket and kind of rough around the edges, and a car that's just super dialed in, ready to go. And that's definitely what I got here.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you think that.
Yeah, so I guess I'm out of questions and done stalling. The biggest question I get out of all of those is, how much did it cost? And I come from the world, the Murciélago swaps are, I've been quoted as high as $100,000 to swap them. And I think the lowest estimate I got was like 40 grand. So my perception of what this would cost was already skewed. Thankfully, your number is much lower than it would be in an Italian car. Obviously the parts, there's a lot that goes into it, both the car that's going into, where we're getting the parts, what clutch you go with, what tune you go with, all the while you're in theirs. But I guess more broadly, what should people expect if they want a manual swap? And then we can do me specifically as a use case for what that ends up being.
Man, my range isn't that wide. So on the lower end, it's usually around 15,000. Your engine is more development. There's the manual controller from Josh at MSS.
Yep.
That adds a little bit of cost. The uprated clutch, because yours has more power. Again, where you get parts. Yours kind of falls more around the 16.5-ish range. And some of the older stuff, we can get closer to around 12, 13. Some of the more like simple, just a regular V8 kind of cars. That's generally the range, and that's with a used transmission. Like the latest CLK Black Series, we did everything new because I want a new transmission and everything. So we found one of those, and that's a big jump. It's about a $7,000 additional cost to do a new transmission.
Yeah.
And there's not many of them left from Mercedes. After we got this one, there was like 7 left. So that's a very limited thing. So those, as you know, that stock dwindles down, those might get a little more expensive. But I think his came out with that, so it would put it around like what, 23-ish, somewhere around there. So really no more than 25.
But that's actually not that, like the Lamborghini, again, egregious example, but they're now at $9,000 for a throwout bearing, 10 grand for a clutch. They like basically caught onto the manual swap community and really jacked the prices. So it's a risk here, probably less of a risk because there's at least more cars, like Mercedes versus Lamborghini is like very controlling. They're only 2 models that they can look after, but certainly a risk that the parts, people start hoarding them or they become less available. But
it's happened just the couple years that we've been getting into these.
Yeah.
Like I quoted some, a year and a half ago that were a lot less expensive, and people are, well, what happened? It's like, well, the used parts prices have gone up, the availability has gone down, tariffs have become a thing now, and like even like a lot of the parts in Europe, they don't ship to the US anymore.
Yeah.
So I have to have like a contact in Europe receive it there, and then they send it to us, and then you get the extra tariffs from each stop that it makes, and it's made it a lot more complicated and added to the cost. But we try to keep it as reasonable as we can because we want to share this with everyone, and there's no point in just making it expensive to make it expensive, because really you're spending 100% of the car's value.
I know.
Or near
that thought crossed my brain, trust me.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Yeah,
it's still, you got to just look at it the total value, right? So if I'm into that car, 40 to 50K, let's call it, like that's still, the driving experience is absolutely there. And a similar manual, like a B7 RS4 is my comparison point. A good one of those is going to cost you in that range too.
Yeah.
So
with all the maintenance scares,
and without 4 pedals and without a wagon. So yeah, no, it's definitely a good value if you look at it that way. It's just, and it is nice that you can bite the bullet all at once, like I did, buy the car and do the swap before you drive it, or you could buy the car, save up a little bit, then do the swap, and kind of make the financial like cash flow situation work well.
The big call we've gotten like multiple times a week is like with you, people don't have a car yet.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to do this because I saw y'all's videos and like now I can.
Yeah.
So I'm searching for a car, and people have started asking, do you have any cars for sale that are already done and that sort of thing? So we're toying with that idea, having some cars around here that we take to shows, or if someone's like on the fence, it's like, hey man, fly in, drive in, come drive this one, see what you think, see how we do our product, and just again share it with everyone. That's what's so exciting to us as Mercedes enthusiasts. We're like, this is something we all really wanted for 20 years now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they're like, let's just tell the whole world.
Your anniversary party, I mean, just the amount of people that are like, I've always wanted to see one of these and experience this, and like people are wanting to sit in and feel the shifter and like all like really impressed by it. So
yeah, it's a big hit.
And that is another cool thing, as opposed to buying an off-the-shelf car. I feel, like there's that manual gearbox preservation society vibe of like, I'm not saving the manuals, we're creating the manuals. And that's even better, right? Like it's pretty special.
Yeah, to give someone something that was just never an option for the last 20 years, it's still just, it just makes me smile.
Yeah.
Well, every time I get behind the wheel of one, I'm like, man, this is like, how'd they miss the mark on this? Like, what would these cars be worth if they were factory manuals?
Right. Especially some of like the Black Series of the world, where like the transmission was let down, and they're just such special cars.
Yes.
That like it's just the one thing it needs, and it's doable. So, well, you're doing the Lord's work, and I want to go out and drive mine more before it gets dark. So let's finally settle the tab.
Before you get to drive it,
I'll pay the piper here.
there's your. It's It's got a few pages, 5 pages.
I actually have something for you as well. I assume you take this just as a credit. It's worth it's $1 million bill.
Oh, okay.
Michael Jackson was the president that they put on it. I don't know if you remember him from your history classes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good. So I think you'll owe me some change.
Yeah, we might have a little something.
No, you guys took really good care of me. I mean, it's funny because the manual swap here ends on page 2. And then there's 5 pages here of everything from aromatic warning light, which a lot of these, again, I love working with specialists. All my cars I take to specialists. I don't have like a generalist shop. So I'm like, Mercedes people, like this aromatic light, I could see a shop that didn't know what they were doing, throwing the parts cannon at it, replacing every part. And you were like, yeah, just it's a sensor. I don't need to replace the bags. I don't have to do all that. Same with the check engine light was literally a plug that was just needed to be flipped around.
Yep.
But a normal mechanic would say, oh, well, we got to replace the whole module. I'm sure the dealership would have said that too. Thrust arms, center dash speaker, HVAC buttons, sun visors, HVAC vent, door trim, wheel bolts, bulk brake pulsation. Actually, I got new brakes out of this too, which
they were in the back of the car.
I know.
So it was just labor.
Thank you to the people that sell your cars with the extra parts in the trunk. That actually literally came in handy. So resonator delete, which I like. We did just enough to make it a little spicier, but still compared to your ML63 is quiet as a church mouse. Heater and op, that also has come in handy on this trip. Steering wheel, the new steering wheel is actually a really nice upgrade. When you hit me up, you're like, hey Nick, do you want to change the steering wheel or what do you want to do there? I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, he's like, yeah, there's cooler ones and we can do the paddle delete better and all that. And I was like, I don't want to spend another couple grand on a steering wheel. And you're like, bro, it's $350. I'm like, okay, fine. The tune, all of that, everything was pretty reasonable here. So.
Yeah, well, yours is a little bit of a development project as well, so that kind of helps you in the cost department.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but under 20 grand for having a sorted dream car scenario is wonderful. And to your point, it is about 100% of what I paid for the car. But I got a really good deal on the car because of that check engine light. So you bailed me out of jail there knowing that it wasn't going to be as expensive as I thought.
You got a bailout on both your warning lights.
I know. Well, my Bentley Arnage from the past was the worst case scenario and every single light was extremely expensive. So this is like karma or the universe kind of paying it back and saying you deserve an easy break. So
yeah, I remember the early conversations where you were so scared. He's like, figure out the check engine light and the air suspension warning first. Like,
PTSD for sure from that Bentley for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I don't even think I'll ride in a Bentley again.
No, you're that scarred.
Mercedes is where it's at. I'm done with Bentleys.
Making you Mercedes, man, one ride at a time.
Well, thank you for all of that. If anything, like I said, I will start pointing people to this video, but
thank you.
There's a lot of questions. I think my biggest point to the audience is like, work with who you trust. Like now is the best time to swap it because the parts are still available and you've done enough now of a bunch of different cars from, again, coupes, sedans, wagons.
Even my 79
C-classes. Yeah, you've done older, newer. Like you all now have the technical expertise on the parts. In the future, the parts may become less available and like, I'm guessing you're probably going to get a wait list going before too long based on...
We already do, yeah.
Yeah, so...
We're trying to make it more efficient. I'm like trying to gather the parts ahead of time and we have these little totes of all the parts together so when something comes in, we can turn it over a little faster.
That's awesome. Yeah, you did mine in basically a week, so... But yeah, no, it's a good time to do a manual swap and I couldn't trust you guys more. I mean, the other thing is just having that communication. I mean, you guys were... texting and calling and involving me in the process. I joke my dad just remodeled a house and it was like painstaking because he's like, I don't want to pick out like cabinet door fixtures and paint colors, but like being asked to be like, hey, like what shift boot do you like better? Or like what surround sound do you like better? Yeah. It's like, I could do this all day, every day. It was like really fun to work with you and feel like I was part of the process, yet not have to lift a finger or get my hands dirty.
The tiny details are what makes it so exciting to me. Like the center console trim, deleting the start button that's no longer used on the Black Series. That was like the most exciting part. I'm like, forget that it's 4 pedals, but look at how we integrated this. And it's
and your client there, who's a friend of mine, he was so thrilled with that. Like that little thing meant such a difference to him.
It does, like you with your original shifter trim. It's just like it's those final touches because that's what you're touching every day and looking at now. Other than the feel of driving the car, like this is what's in your hand, and like I didn't want you to get in the steering wheel. It's got the leather peeling off of it, and
that's why I like doing steering wheel upgrades. You
all
touch
the time.
It is a focal point of the car. But yeah, when I did a Cayenne steering wheel swap, that was $1,600. You needed P-Wiz software to do to reprogram the buttons. It was a pain.
Wow.
The Mercy was also similarly expensive. Audis, I did flat bottom steering wheels. I mean, like, I'm used to that costing like an extra decimal point than what Mercedes does. So for that alone, I like Mercedes a lot better.
Awesome. We love it. Well, again, thanks for being here today, and I hope we answered all your questions about manual swaps here at DC MotorWerks. And I think it's now time for us to go drive, right?
Yeah, and congrats on your first video here in the new podcast.
The initial pod.
That's right.
Thank you, Nick.
All right. Cheers.